Very familiar, isn't it? Welcome to the 𝗘𝘃𝗲𝗿 project. In today's video, I'm going to be starting off with the knight. My knight is going to be currently sitting at 46,331 power rank, and here's going to be my stats, and you can just pause the video if you want. My head, weapon and face are going to be fully maxed out crystal level 4 gear with full pearls and star, and all of them have movement speed, magic find, and attack speed. The reasoning behind it is going to be that I need movement speed, the knight needs movement speed. You cannot use the knight subclass to fall back on, so you really need that movement speed if you want to move fast. It's pretty much the truth with any character, but it is much more true with the knight. Attack speed, the reasoning I use attack speed is because this character received one of the most ridiculous basic attack buff in the entire game in the Shadowy Spotlight, so using attack speed is almost a no-brainer, and it was already a really strong basic, and now it's just a ridiculous basic attack. And also the reason I use magic find on all pieces of gear is because I don't need physical damage on my face because I already one-shot. I don't one-shot, but I kill fast. I don't need maximum health, head and face because I'm running 2.1 mil HP. And I also am running over 100% critical hit, so I don't need critical hit on weapon and ring. So that's usually the reasoning why I use magic find, and also because more drops. Speaking of ring, I will be using a crystal level 4 magic find overcharge ring. So that is going to be the ability that I will be using, overcharge on the knight. If you want more explanation on that ability, I'll leave that in the description down below. Now, I use magic find because of drops. That's it. Yeah, nothing mind-blowing about that. It's pretty obvious. So, but on a serious note, I really don't need energy regeneration on the knight because I use Spirit Square still. And you really don't need energy regeneration with the Spirit Square ability, so I just personally use Magic Find. My ally is going to be the Animated Jug because I value movement speed so much that I don't need the extra damage and light that 𝗘𝘃𝗃𝗃 grants me, so I will just personally be using Animated Jug. If you want to be using 𝗘𝘃𝗃𝗃 or something like that, then I would recommend you to use 𝗘𝘃𝗃𝗃 because it grants you 100 extra light plus the 5% bonus physical damage, so 𝗘𝘃𝗃𝗃 is going to be the ally from the Paragon Workbench. The banner is going to be the permanent torch, and like I just mentioned in the introduction video that I made a little while back, and link in the description if you want more explanation, I will be using this on every single class just to give a better representation on how the character performs with a permanent torch. So I will be swapping my permanent torch just around all of the characters so that all of the characters actually are rocking at least a permanent torch. My food is going to be the free range electrolytic crystal, should be obvious, 300 light, very easy to get. That should be something that you should be using all the time. Martial, Trailblazing are going to be my emblem. Martial because you need that damage. Arcane, same with Arcane if you're using a magic damage character. And so yeah, this should be an obvious pick. You should always be using Martial and Arcane. And Trailblazing because movement speed, like I just mentioned a little bit before, I value movement speed way too much. However, if you are one of those type of players that really want that little bit of extra burst damage, or if you are not doing like enough damage, if your stats are really low, I would recommend you to use an emblem called the Beamer Emblem. The Beamer Emblem is going to be an emblem that it spawns an eye that shoots an enemy, and that eye does 6 times damage multiplier. It does help out greatly in burst damage, and U11 is all about burst damage. I will be saying this pretty much throughout the whole series. U11 is burst damage. U10 was one-shotting, and same with U9. U11 is burst. So characters that can do really good burst, really instant cast ability are going to do well inside U11. Alright, so Beamer Emblem is going to be really good. I don't need it, but if you are in the lower end in stats, that is going to be a really good option. And lastly is going to be my subclass. Personally, no pun intended, I will be using the Personal Song Bard subclass. I will be using this subclass because I still feel that this is the best endgame subclass in the entirety of the game. So because it grants you a percentage movement speed buff, and that percentage movement speed buff can go upwards up to 20%. And considering that I'm using tier 9 Bard subclass, I am rocking that 20% bonus movement speed, so it is really good. However, another good alternative is going to be either the Knight subclass because of Flask, but obviously I'm using the Knight, so that doesn't work here. But the other subclass could be really good is the Solarian subclass. The Solarian subclass helps out in burst damage, and like I just mentioned a little bit before, U11 is all about burst damage, and Solarian does help out on that aspect greatly. So make sure to actually just use the Solarian subclass if you want, and not only that, it grants you extra light, so if you're in the lower end of stats, this is going to be probably your best option. For me personally, Bard subclass. So that's going to be the one that I will be using in this video. Now, that is going to be everything in regards to my gear. Before I move into my gems, I will just be answering this question because I know I'm going to be getting asked throughout the whole series. So I will be just saying that my costume combination. My hat and my costume is going to be the Trove Defender. The Trove Defender is going to be a costume from the Spooky Swag backpack gotten normally from the Shadow Thief event. That is going to be the costume and hairstyle that I will be using. And my weapon style, normally like the one that you always see me rocking with the knight, is going to be the Lunar Ronin blade, which is the weapon style for the Lunar Ronin costume, which is a Neon Ninja costume gotten from the store. And that's usually the weapon style that I'm rocking. But in this video, I will be using the Wheel of Stars, which is going to be an exclusive 5-star dungeon for the Thunder Uplands from the rare boss Watt, the Son of Stars, which is one of the rare bosses in the 5-star dungeons, and it has a pretty low chance of actually dropping a weapon style, which cannot be gotten in super style stashes, and that's the one that I will be using today. Now, let's move on into my gems. So I'll be scrolling over all of my gems starting with water, air, fire, cosmic, in that order, and I will be going over all of the abilities in that specific order. While I explain all of that, I will be just scrolling over all of my gems just one by one, like I just mentioned, in that order. Starting off with the first ability, which is going to be Explosive Epilogue. The reason I'm using Explosive Epilogue is mainly because Explosive Epilogue is actually been very helpful for me personally, because it does help out in burst damage. And since Spirit Squire really doesn't one-shot inside U11, when a boss spawns minions, Explosive Epilogue actually just brings up that damage to a little bit so it can actually start one-shotting. So with Explosive Epilogue, sometimes I can actually one-shot 1-star bosses and world bosses that have minions. So it is actually really good. So I've been using Explosive Epilogue, and again, I would recommend this ability on most characters, or if not all characters, because once again, I'm going to mention this again all the time. U11 is all about burst damage, and Explosive Epilogue enables you to do more burst damage whenever you kill a random enemy, because obviously it will just dish out some extra burst damage. I do believe it's like 4 times damage, which is really good. So yeah, it's very effective, and I will highly recommend you using that ability on pretty much most characters. My second ability is going to be Spirit Squire class gem. I already explained multiple times why I prefer using Spirit Squire over, Charge, and that's just because of consistency. Spirit Squire is just way better in terms of consistency, and you can just use that towards your advantage in terms of just maintaining movement speed and being able to just control your overcharge ability much better, and not being able to be reliant on using energy regeneration. So I personally use Spirit Squire. So Spirit Squire is going to be my option. The momentum building is also ridiculous on that ability, but I will get more into that once I start talking about more detail about Spirit Squire. But yes, that's usually the reasoning of me using that ability over the charge ability. Third ability is going to be Paradise. Paradise is going to be a must on every single class, no matter which class that you're using. And this is by far the best Empower Gem ability in the entire game out of all of the regular Empower Gem abilities, because it will grant you damage, movement speed, crowd control, and it procs really easily, so get it with every single class. And lastly, my fourth and final Empower Gem ability is going to be Vampire and Vanquisher. Normally some people will be using Berserk Battler, and Berserk Battler will be very helpful, because Berserk Battler, what it does, it will grant you some light whenever you deal damage, so you are going to get 250 light, and then once you hit an enemy 11 times, you're going to get an extra 500, making 750 light, which is really good in U11 because light is very important. But me personally, I already am doing enough damage and I value movement speed so much that Vampire and Vanquisher is going to be the best option for me, especially for the knight, like I just mentioned, because of the movement speed. Berserk Battler, good Empower Gem ability if you are in the lower stats, so I will recommend you to use that. However, if you're in the higher stats, like around the power rank of my knight, or even like around 41,000 power rank, which is what I was using on the day 1 on this update, 42,000. Vampire Vanquisher was still just extremely effective, so I will probably just say use Vampire Vanquisher still for the knight for the most part. So yeah, I will probably just say Vampire Vanquisher is still the best Empower Gem ability for speed farming. And yeah, that covers all of my gems, and this covers the post-commentary portion of this video. I will be moving into live commentary once I go into U11, and I will start in U11 Topside right now. And here we are. This is the live commentary portion of the video. I'm actually just playing right here. Look at me, just woo, just spinning. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. Anyways, so I'm right here inside Topside. Why did I decide to choose Topside? Because you know, we are already just sick and tired just seeing Topside every single time. But the reasoning I'm choosing Topside first is because this is something that you need to know about Topside. Topside enemies are very, very weak comparable to the regular U11 enemies and also Sunder Uplands. Well, not very weak, but they have a lot less HP, so they're much easier to kill. So if you're wondering which is going to be the first U11 that you should go for Topside. Not only because of the extra light that you get from cosmic gems, but the other thing that you can also do is just going to be that it's going to kill enemies rather quickly. Always remember that I'm capable of actually one-shotting enemies with the Spirit Square. I cannot do this inside U11 on the other U11, so the Elemental Wars, and let alone I cannot do this on Sunder Uplands, which is very, very difficult comparable to all of these. But yes, I actually am rocking Topside because the enemies are going to be something different. I will be doing this first and then I'll be swapping into like the regular U11. I'll probably not do Sunder Uplands throughout the whole series. I might just mention it here and there, but all you gotta know is that Sunder Uplands is very, very difficult, and no matter which character that you're using, it's going to take a little while to actually kill. So I'm mainly going to be doing regular U11, either Topside and also the regular U11 Fire, Water, Air. I might just change between any elemental worlds or whatever, but yes, for the most part, I will just be using those two. Also, excuse the lag, I've been just lagging quite a lot, especially after the maintenance that we got yesterday, but anyways, it is what it is. Let's just talk about the Knight. After using a little bit on the Knight, I've noticed that the Knight is actually one of the more underrated classes once again in the entire game. A lot of people really are not talking about this class, and it is a damn shame because this class is something special, especially after the buff that it got received in the Shadow Spotlight update. It is going to be really, really, really good. The Knight, obviously, this is going to be essentially a maxed out Knight, so obviously you cannot give I cannot give you like a proper representation how would around a 40k PR Knight would do. Well, I can, because I actually have done this as a 42,000 power rank when the update dropped, so I will leave that in the description down below if you want a better representation. But even despite all of that, the Knight is actually going to be really, really good because it has some of the best things that you want on a character. I've already explained this so many times in previous videos. Some of the things that the Knight is good for is going to be momentum building, high damaging abilities, and not to mention really good crowd control. The weaknesses of the characters were the lower than average movement speed. But the thing is, characters that are one-shotting or exclusive one-shotters are usually not going to do really well inside U11 because you don't one-shot. This is Martial Spirit Square and I didn't even one-shot. I had to use a basic attack in order to actually one-shot, well, two-shot with a Spirit Square and a basic attack, similar to what I used to do on 3-star bosses back then. But I had to do this on every single boss, especially in Topside. And the thing is, with a character like the Knight, the good thing is that the basic attack is extremely powerful. It used to be the case where, for the most part, you used to use Spirit Square because it used to do like a ridiculous amount of damage comparable to the basic, and the basic was still good, but now the basic attack is just absolutely ridiculous, like to the point that just using this, I can just 2-tap or 3 taps bosses with basic attack only, because the basic attack does 4.55 times damage multiplier. Let me repeat that, 4.55 times damage multiplier. That is absolutely ridiculous, considering that this basic attack is statistically the 3rd fastest basic attack in the game. It is ridiculously strong. If you actually compare it to the other 2 basic attacks, which are faster than this one, the 2 basic attacks that are statistically faster in terms of max attack speed are going to be the Shadow Hunter and they are going to be the Gunslinger. We already know what kind of basic attack damage the Gunslinger is already doing. A 6 times damage multiplier with the ultimate ability and max attack speed, but the ultimate ability actually lowers your attack speed, And yeah, so that's definitely something. Holy Jesus, Trove, what the hell happened to you? But yes, the Gunslinger outside of the actual ultimate ability does a total of 6 times damage, or without the ult it is 1.2 post nerf. So post Shadow is Spotlight, the basic attack on Gunslinger is 1.2. The basic attack on Shadow Hunter is 2 times damage. The basic attack on the Knight is 4.55 and it is number 3. When you compare a basic attack that does really good crowd control, does 4.55 times damage multiplier, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I don't need to just explain that. And then if we move on into the passive ability, yes, we actually did get the old passive ability Retribution. What it actually does is whenever you take damage, you're going to see that my sword is going to glow. And you are going to stack all the way up to 3 times. It is pretty much just mixed up with my aura, but you can just get like that 3 times. You can actually just see it if you just sit down. That aura that you actually see right there is going to be your passive ability, which what it does is when you take damage, you're going to do extra damage with your basic attack. When you get to stage 3 basic attack on a 1 second cooldown on each stage, by the way, but once you do get, this is actually ridiculous, once you do get stage 3 basic attack, this is the type of damage that you are going to be doing. That is an U11 world boss and I dealt 111 million damage. Basic attack is a no joke. For the most part, you're going to be on stage, at least stage 2 or stage 1 on the passive ability. And stage 1 on the passive ability will transform your basic attack exponentially, like quite a lot, just making it, I do believe, deal like 7 times damage multiplier. And just thinking about it, a basic attack of this caliber doing 7 times damage, which is just dumb to think about. To put it into perspective, that's still stronger than Fate Trickster's basic attack. Fate Trickster basic is 6.5 with passive, by the way. And this one can do on 7 times damage a lot of the times when you take only 1 hit and you're going to be taking 1 hit all the time. I cannot praise this enough that this basic attack is just absolutely ridiculous to the point that it just pretty much makes it almost borderline broken. It's so good, it's not even funny. Basic attack is going to carry you throughout the all of the game, not even like end game over 11. It's every single game. When you're using the Knight, early game, mid game, late game, end game, you're going to be just being carried by this basic attack because it's fast, good crowd control, and to top it all off, is only gets stronger once you do get hit. I don't need to just tell you how good this ability really is, or basic. It is absolutely dumb. Whenever I just saw this on the patch notes on the test server, I was just mind blown. It's like, damn, 4.55 on a basic attack that can do upwards of 6.35 of 3.75 attacks per second at maximum. A basic attack that can only get stronger once you do get hit. Good crowd control. Okay. And the reason why this is so important for any character, not so much the Knight, is because the basic attack is going to be something that every single character does have, and every single character doesn't require any resource to actually do that basic attack. It doesn't require any resource, it's instant cast, it's pretty much something that you are going to be doing all the time. So using your basic attack or having a really good basic attack is really effective. And seeing that the Knight actually has arguably one of the best, if not the best, basic attack in the entire game, that's just going to speaks volume on how good this character can actually be. Now, you quickly are seeing me in U11 Topside just destroying and just making short work of the enemies, and that's just because Spirit Squire still can one-shot enemies in U11 Topside. It does 8.5 times damage multiplier, however, 8.5 times damage multiplier got bumped up from 8 on the Shadow Spotlight update. However, this ability is not going to be able to one-shot all enemies, so you need to know how to use Martial Spirit Squire to actually just maintain movement speed buff. Luckily, that's not too difficult to actually do, but if you're one of those players that used to use the Knight and you were used to doing this and just killing enemies just one-shot everywhere, get to using your Martial Emblem to get your movement speed buff and get into the momentum building, because you will not be able to one-shot. So that's going to be the next thing. Spirit Squire and Smash. Smash is still a useless ability. I don't know why they just don't get rid of this ability. or and just change it completely. The thing is, it's just Smash. It's just a weaker Spirit Squire. That's just how it is. It's an ability that still takes 1 second to fully activate. It does the same 8.5 times damage multiplier, which is good. It has a cone in front of the knight of, I do believe it's like 7x4 or something like that. It's just an ability that will taunt enemies. It's alright. It's an alright ability, but I just find it useless. I don't know why this is still in the game. I will probably just say, I will just tell you just to avoid this ability completely. You really don't need to use the Smash ability, no matter what you are. Especially now with a ridiculously strong basic attack. One Smash does 8.5 times damage multiplier. You will be able to attack twice with 100% attack speed, doing that 4.55 times damage multiplier. So by the time that one Smash does damage, the basic attack will be doing at least more than 2 basic attacks, and the 2 basic attacks are just going to be overall better, because first, it doesn't lower your movement speed. Secondly, obviously you can just increase the VA attack speed. Third, passive ability will just increase it. And fourth, you will be doing just more damage. 2 basic attack will do with 9.10 times damage, 9.1. So 9.1 times damage multiplier on 2 basic attacks versus the same time frame it will take you to do one Smash, which does 8.5. So Smash is useless, though I don't recommend you to just use this ability. Next up is going to be the Spirit Squire and Charge. The debate on which of the 2 abilities should you use. Should you use whatever you want? Charge and Spirit Squire are just both really fun abilities. The reason I personally like to use Spirit Squire over Charge is because, like I just mentioned, I prefer consistency. One of the things that the knight actually has going for is consistency. Is one of the things that I like about this character a whole lot. It's a really extremely consistent character. You already know what type of damage that you can just expect. High damaging, high kill time. Like, this is a really fast killing character. But using the charge ability, I feel that it takes away some of that consistency that the knight actually does have. The reason being is because the charge ability is actually just straight on just a dash, just moving forward. You cannot change your direction. You cannot go up and down, you cannot do anything. It's just a straight on direction with the charge. The thing is, with that charge, it's also an ability that takes, I do believe, 60 energy, so you really need energy regeneration to move or to maintain that, versus Spirit Squire, which is 25, and if you do have stuff like Marshall, you can just kill the enemy and get movement speed buff. Not to mention, the movement speed that you do get with the charge is a set amount of movement speed. Once you do start reaching into the higher stats on the knight, you are definitely going to notice this one thing. The dash will barely, move you forward in terms of movement speed. It's actually really good only if you do not have like a lot of movement speed. Like, if you don't have movement speed buff, then obviously charge is just going to be better because you will be moving a set amount of movement speed. The thing is, that you can just move around really quickly without the need of just using charge by just killing random enemies. And like I just mentioned, Spirit Squire with just one Marshall and just Spirit Squire, you should be able to maintain all of that movement speed buff, which is very, very important for any character in terms of speed farming, because that's how you are going to move fast. You move fast generally by just killing a lot of the enemies, and just killing enemies will just allow you to just, I missed those 2 Spirit Square, that was just horrible. So yeah, it will just allow you to just drive by essentially to enemies and just kill them really quickly. And I missed another Spirit Square, but yeah, you can just see them right here and just maintain all the movement speed buff, kill all the enemies really quickly. And as you quickly can see, you barely lose a lot of movement speed on this character. That's just the moral of the story with this ability, Spirit Squire over the charge ability. You generally need much more consistency, and Spirit Squire for me is much more consistent than using charge. So I will just highly recommend a lot of people to try out Spirit Squire, but don't expect the same thing that you expect before with just one-shotting every single boss. I use this more as an utility ability that will just help you out in increasing movement speed, especially with something like Overcharge. Let's move on into the Iron Will. Iron Will ultimate ability will be pretty helpful, especially right now, considering the over 11 enemies, and even more so in like Thunder Uplands, where the enemies do like ridiculous amounts of damage. In the Thunder Uplands, I would probably just say, yeah, Iron Will be just a lifesaver because it will just give you that protection, and the enemies on their uplines do ridiculous amounts of damage. In regular here, in U11, in U11 Topside, and in the regular elemental world, which I should be going after just finishing up this 5-star dungeon, so I will just be telling you that Iron Will is just going to be an ability that you're barely going to end up using, especially with a lot of HP that you can just go ahead and run with. It's definitely much, like, it's not as useful because you have so much HP and you barely take any damage. It's something like it is going to be useful in like this under uplines, which is ridiculously good. Like, you can just tell I'm just right here, just standing still, taking like around 300k damage, which is more than enough for me to actually not only kill the enemy but also heal. You generally don't need Iron Will, but use it from time to time if you do need that panic button. But yeah, it does the same thing. It heals you 100% of the time. Well, 100% HP. It will give you a 50% protection, and giving you a protection of 50% will just help out in just taking less damage, which does help out a little bit in survivability, which is just very, very helpful. Now, I just went over all of the abilities on the knight. Now let's just go on how the character performs in general. I'm just going to be happy to report that the knight is extremely good. Like I just mentioned, it is going to be a character that is no longer going to be one-shotting everything and anything. So it is a character that the momentum is just going to feel a little bit different. So all you gotta do is just start considering using your martial emblem for killing regular enemies, especially on the lower stats, because that's just going to be how it is. The other thing is that I usually open up using a Spirit Squire because sometimes bosses do spawn minions. Let's see if this one spawns minions. But when it spawns minions, I can actually just do one Spirit Squire, kill the minions, and it will help me out in just doing one shot. So let's see if I can actually just do this right here. So you can actually just see right there. Normally I don't one shot with one Spirit Squire, but I actually kill one enemy with the Spirit Squire. It did detonate it, and it was more than enough to actually one shot. So it is actually very, very helpful for that aspect, but you are not going to expect that all the time. Now, here I am in the Air World, and I'm just going to be mentioning a couple other things in regards to Spirit Squire, because it is the hot topic for me personally. The fact that you can no longer just one-shot regular enemies. Just to give you a little bit of a proof, let me just go all the way over here. Let me just find an enemy so you can actually see. So here's a regular enemy, and if I actually just do a... Did it fall off the map? Yep, it did fall off the map. Okay, so here I go, a spider enemy. So if I actually do a Spirit Square, you can actually see it doesn't one-shot. You can no longer also just do one Spirit Square into one basic on world bosses. You can do that in U11 Topside, but here you have to do either 2 or 3 basic attacks. But you can actually still see that the knight is just very effective, especially for 𝗘𝘃𝗀𝗀. Like, 𝗘𝘃𝗀𝗀 is like no joke. Like, this character just activate a martial, just keep going back and forth and just kill every single enemy like really quickly. Probably you will say that this character is among the better characters in the entire game for U11. Yes, believe it or not, like this is going to be a completely different change of pace, considering that most of the players are just used to one-shotting everything in like U10. In U11, don't expect that. The knight really can just kill enemies really, really quickly, even at the lower end of 40,000 power rank, because of the aforementioned basic attack that I just talked about. And not only that, the Spirit Square is still doing enough damage that it can one-shot regular enemies, so you can maintain movement speed buff. And just starting off with a Spirit Square and then just going with basic attack, it actually does help out a whole lot also in survivability, because you can actually just go directly into an enemy, throw down a Spirit Square, the enemy will be completely stunned, and by the time that the stun goes away, you can just wail on the enemy and just kill it before it does any damage. It does help out really, really good in survivability, because remember, Spirit Square does do a 1-second stun, and during that 1-second stun, you can just hit it at least twice or even 3 times with basic attack. And if you do have really high attack speed, 4, even 5 times in terms of just your basic attack. So 5 attacks, basic attack, after a stun is more than enough for you to actually just kill even HP, bosses with bonus HP. That's going to be how it is. And even if you don't kill it, you can just literally just throw down another Spirit Square and you will do another couple second, like 1-second stun. And yeah, not to mention perma stunning is a thing with this character. It's one of the few characters that can actually perma stun bosses or enemies. So if you're struggling with survivability, you can just keep spamming Spirit Square and you can just keep stunning the enemy It's the same thing with charge, but Spirit Square is easier because obviously Spirit Square does take less energy and it is much easier to land. So definitely for sure is something to keep note of. It is absolutely brilliant. So you can quickly see that the character does still one-shot regular enemies. It still is really good in terms of momentum building. It still kills pretty fast, has a good crowd control, has good basic. Like, it is an overall good character. This is probably one of the best all-around characters in the game right now. Not saying this because obviously it's my main character, but it is definitely such a really good character. I thought that was a dungeon for a sec, but no, that was an actual cornerstone. But yeah, it's just an all-around good character. It's a character that will do pretty much anything and everything that you want on a character. It has good crowd control, good damage, good momentum building, a good survivability. It is pretty consistent through and through, has high damaging ability, doesn't need any setup, pretty easy to use. And not to mention, it is one of the starter characters. And being one of the starter characters, it means that it is very easy to obtain. Yeah, it is an all-around good character. Does it have weaknesses? Yes, of course, it's definitely still not the fastest character out there. Obviously, it's not the best character in terms of just dishing out the highest burst possible, but for the most part, it just has everything. It's a character with little weaknesses. Like, the weaknesses are very easy mitigated with just because the overcharged basic attack are just some of the best abilities in the entire game. So yeah, pretty much for the most part, you generally don't need anything else. Like, the basic attack is ridiculously good, and Spirit Square is just not the way that it used to be, but it's still an insanely good utility ability. And yeah, so I would probably just say this might be one of the most underrated and strongest characters in the entire game in terms of U11. Not saying this because it's my main, you can quickly see it is just really good. But yeah, that's going to cover everything for today. Like I just mentioned, I will not be going inside Sunder Uplands. Sunder Uplands is going to be very difficult for every single character out there. The Sunder Uplands might be just reserved for something like an true endgame series where I go over the characters at higher stats, because that's where the Sunder Uplands, that's where you should be doing Sunder Uplands, because if you're in the 40,000 power rank, no matter which character that you're using, you're going to struggle in Sunder Uplands. But yeah, that's going to cover everything. Thank you for watching, thank you for sticking around as always. This has been the very first episode on the 40k PR project. Let me know your thoughts and opinions, and yeah, I hope to see you guys next time. Take care and keep on hunting, and let me know your opinions on the night. See ya.